To create this little box that I like to use as a display box, I like to also use it to inventory my earrings, or you can use it for actually anything in your studio. You can make them any size that you choose. I use an old blouse. This is just an old blouse fabric that I used to cover the box because I bought it at the 99-cent aisle at the thrift store, and it's a great way to use something up that's probably going to end up in the trash. So what I have done is I've marked out where I'm going to cut my cardboard. I've made the bottom of my tray 3.5 inches by 11 inches. And I've made the edges all 2 inches. So the side edges are 2 inches, the back edge is 2 inch, and the other side is 2 inch. So that when I cut all this out, this won't be here, this won't be here, this. And I will create this box with that. So I can't cut this on camera without putting my head in front of the camera. So I'm gonna cut this out and I'll be right back. Now that I have this all cut out, I have to score along these fold lines or this cardboard is too rigid, it won't bend up. Now you could use a bone folder, which looks like this if you happen to be a card maker, but many people don't have it. And you know, I found this worked actually even better, is I'm just taking a scissor and a ruler and I'm just going to score along that edge. So I'm taking just my scissor, opening it up, and I'm just scoring along there. And this will just coerce that cardboard into bending so that when you pull on it, it bends right up. And see, now I won't have to worry about my sides going up. So I'm gonna finish the other sides and then we'll come back. So you need to score along the sides of these edges of the box so that they will fold up like this. This will not bend on its own. And the way to coerce that, I use simply a scissor. I just take the edge of the scissor, open it up, and I take my ruler right along the line where I want that to be, that bend, and I just score it. And that makes it really easy to pop right up. So this way I have these 2 sides done. I just have one more and we can form the box. So I have all the sides of my box scored and I'm all ready to cover it, and I am going to cover it with this blouse. Yes, you heard me correctly. It's a beautiful gold blouse. It's really pretty and I think it'll make a beautiful box. So I just have to find a piece of fabric that's all flat. I haven't decided whether an arm or a back, and I will come back and show you how I cover it. So I have my fabric all cut out. It's about the right size for my cardboard, and I started covering my cardboard with glue, and once again I'm just using a little Elmer's school glue, and I am just covering it directly. I'm not thinning this down this time. I'm just covering it so that the fabric will really absorb the glue and set up rather quickly. Now this is the inside of my box because this is the side that the flaps go up on. So I'm going to cover that first. I find it easier to cover the inside and get one nice easy piece. And all I'm going to do is just push it around, make sure it's nice and well glued on. I did not iron this fabric. I washed it, but I did not iron it because once you start gluing and stuff, it kind of presses itself. It's not a big deal. Now I'm just going to trim around this a little bit so that it's easier to bend these flaps in. Now on the corners here, you're going to need to miter them. And miter them is just cut in on this one and cut in and up on that one. And you'll understand in a second when I fold it over why I need to do that. And so I'm cutting in on this one all the way in, and then going up, and then cutting in and up. So it only takes a minute to do this. And if you think this was literally a ripped blouse, it was ripped in the sleeves and I only paid $1 for it, but I think of it this way. One less thing in the landfill, and I'll have something useful out of it. So if you can save any fabric from the landfill, it's a blessing. And this, if I don't use it as an earring organizer, like I said, you can use it as a drawer organizer, lots of things. And these are so easy to make. Okay, now I've got that all trimmed out, and I'm just going to glue down the edges. And the easiest way is to glue one side first. And because this glue is so thick, the fabric just absorbs it. And now I'll just glue on top of that piece of fabric and glue this side on top of that. Now, if your corners aren't perfect, don't worry. We're going to cover them with some fabric. Not fabric, some ribbon, and that'll really pretty them up. Let me show you my finished box. I just put a little ribbon trim on the edge, and that just makes everything look so much better. These don't have to be perfect, they just have to be pretty. And the glue really will stiffen up this cardboard really nicely for you, so you will have a really sturdy box. Not that your earrings are very heavy, but it's nice to have sturdy product. And so I'm just going to continue gluing this up and let it dry, and then we will do the outside. So this is pretty well set. I took my fingernails and I just pressed into these ridges, just a little bit. And now I'm just going to hold up the sides, and I call this fabric tape. And this side doesn't exactly, oh, there we go. It does match. Okay. It's just being a pickle. Okay. So we're going to hold the two corners let me see if I can get it better in the picture. There we go. So I'm holding the two corners together, and I'm just gluing right here and right here. And what I have is these little tabs that I've made out of fabric, and I'm just going to hold this corner in with these tabs. Now, like I said, the fabric absorbs the glue really quickly, and so this will only take a few minutes to dry. So I will work on all of the other corners while that dries. Oh, hard for me to do that one while I show you, so I guess I'll go to this corner. And once again, just glue the corners. And so I will continue to do the other side and come back, and then all we have to do is cover the box on the outside and decorate it, which is nothing. Pretty much all you need is a hot glue gun, but you could still use this school glue, it would be fine. So let this dry and come back. So my box is pretty dry, and I'm going to cover the sides now. And because I'm working with a blouse, my fabric isn't great pieces like you would get if you had bought this at the fabric store, but it's also a lot cheaper, and sometimes I like a challenge. So the easiest way to get a nice straight line and to work my pieces in is, I know that these sides are 2 inches from here to here, and I want to make a piece that's about 2.5 to 3 inches so that it'll cover over this bottom edge for me. And all I'm going to do is line up my line and cut strips. So let me cut these strips, and then I'll show you how we can just wrap around this box and cover it. So I've got my 2 strips cut, and because this is a blouse, like I said, only have certain amounts of fabric. Now, there's different ways you can cover this box. This is all personal, however you prefer. You could cover it in pieces that come to each corner and just fold it down. Or you can cover it and then keep going around the box, which is the way I like to do it, just because the fabric strengthens the box. So we're going to do it my way just because I'm doing it. And all I'm going to do is just cover it with my glue. And I just feel that the more you use this fabric, I'm going to throw it away anyway, the more strength it gives the box. And who knows in the future what I may be using this for. May not just be earrings. I may use it for some of my tools in my studio or other things, or even my clay, and I'd like it to be strong enough that I don't have to worry about it being flimsy. And so using this extra fabric, it's not like it takes me any extra time. And I'm just going to continue gluing and cutting, but let me finish putting this piece on before we put the other piece. Before I show you, it's so simple to pull this down around the bottom. Now, this fabric had some stitches in it, so it's got some permanent wrinkles, but like I said, the glue, once the glue and the water get into it, because there's always water in all of your glue. And if you find that like you can't get some of these wrinkles out, just glue over them. That will actually push them out. And it'll also hold it on better if it bothers you. I sometimes glue over the whole fabric. Now we're just going to cut these corners in at an angle. That scissor's not as good. Let me get a better scissor. There we go. So I'm cutting it at an angle so I miter it down. So I have basically like a little flap like a cereal box. This is hard to do and watch the camera. And so I'm just going to glue that down so that I can glue the other edge. And then I'm just going to do the same thing on this corner and glue that down. Now, if you don't have enough fabric, you really don't have to cover the bottom of this. I cover it because I have enough fabric and I like the way it looks, but if you don't, nobody would ever see it. So it's totally up to you. Once again, it adds more strength because fabric will always add more strength to this cardboard. But just with these like pinchy corners, just push them down, put a little extra glue on them. Once they get wet, they fold over real easy and they will stick. So I'm going to finish covering the box, but I want to show you how far I've gotten. And I will come back and we will just finish up the edge. But you can see how pretty this looks just from an old blouse. You get this beautiful fabric looking box that looks very expensive and costs you just pennies. And the final part, I just have a piece of fabric I cut that I'm going to cover the bottom with. So you can see there won't be any of this cardboard left that you can see, but it also will be strong enough, like I said, if I wanted to store polymer clay in this, if I wanted to use it in a drawer for something else as an organizer, this is a great thing. But I really love these as my display organizing pieces because I make lots of earrings. And sometimes I go to parties and things and want to bring all my girlfriends some earrings. And it's nice to let them pick. It's nice to bring them in a little presentation box. So it's not necessarily that you're just selling them. Sometimes it's just storing them for yourself. And you may even have an old blouse in your closet that you really like, that's either got a tear or a stain on it, and you don't know what to do with it. Well, here you go. You can just make something else with it. You don't have to go shopping, and you don't have to buy anything else to create. And there you can see our beautiful box. Now I just need to let this dry, and then I will put some trim on it, and we're all done. I just want to show you how to make this beautiful little embellishment. It's very simple, very quick. This was made with some dress lining. This one was made with a blouse, just some fabrics I have left over. They make beautiful embellishments, and they're just with scraps and an earring. This is just a leftover earring. Sometimes they have bags of them at the thrift stores, or you may even have them. This is just a simple piece of felt that I've drawn a circle on because I don't want one bigger than 2 inches since the sides of our boxes are 2 inches. And all I'm doing is cutting a roundabout circle. Now, it does not have to be perfect because you all know me. I don't worry about those things. Now, I've also taken another piece of that dress lining. This strip is about 34 inches long. I measured it, first time ever. And it's about 2 inches wide, just randomly. You don't have to have it exactly what I have. This is one of those things where if you happen to have 12 inches and make a smaller flower, or you can piece it together, don't worry about it. This is just made out of scraps, and these embellishments are so fun. They're great on notebooks, Christmas ornaments, Christmas packages. They're really beautiful. You will actually find that you have a lot of use for them. And they're so simple. So all I'm doing is gluing this one side down. Now, if you were really ambitious, you could sew it. I don't see the point, because I literally have a bowl of these that I make out of just my fabric scraps that I, like I said, used for all sorts of embellishments. And you would just find that you have so many uses. Even if you sometimes just put them on a gift bag. It looks so special. Now all I'm going to do is, there's this one I did that has the looped edge where I just cut into it, and this one that has more of a feathery edge. So for the looped edge, all I did was cut straight down on it and it created loops. And for the feathery edge, all I'm going to do is cut up in between this fabric and then cut down on top of it, and it will create more of a feathery look. So I will continue just feathering out this little piece of fabric, and the more, I would say, random it looks, the more feathery it will become. So don't be panicking of, oh, mine isn't neat. That actually makes it look prettier. So I will finish clipping this up and come back, and then we will assemble the flower. So I have all of my fabric cut up, and you can see it's kind of like a feathery little fringe. And all I'm going to do is take my hot glue gun and just create a little edge, and then slowly crimp it around that circle. Now you're going to have to kind of pleat it as you go around the circle, which just makes it fuller. And so I do about 1.5 inches at a time, because the hot glue has a tendency to dry up, or cool down I should say, before I can get to that next piece. And you don't necessarily have to use an earring for the center of the flower. You could use a button. You could even make your own polymer clay center. I just happen to have a lot of old jewelry because I love sparkly old things, and that is why I use earrings. That is literally the only reason. Sometimes I do use buttons, but I always feel like I'm rescuing these little earrings from the garbage can. So many people say, I don't know what to do with these, and they just want to throw them out. And I just hate to throw everything out. And if you happen to have an old white blouse in your closet that has a stain or a tear on it, or even a pink blouse or any other color, blue, you can make these. If you've looked at things and said, oh, they're too bad to donate, well, they probably are. But you could still make flowers, you could still cover a box, even tablecloths you can use, pillowcases. We all have sheet sets that we end up with one flat sheet or a pillowcase, and you don't know what to do with it. This is the type of stuff you can do with it. Why go to the craft store every time you need stuff? I actually don't live close to a craft store, so I think it makes me more clever, so to say, because it's a 45-minute trip for me to find a craft store. And it's quite a trek, because my husband always wants to come along and then always has to give me, why are you buying that? What are you going to do with that? And so I like to just go alone so I can buy all the junk that I don't need by myself. And since he doesn't come to the thrift store with me, I'd probably buy more junk there than I need. He hates thrift stores, so it's my one place I can go alone, or with my daughters. My daughters like thrifting. But I just like thrifting because it keeps stuff out of a landfill. Okay, so now we've got that all done. And all I'm going to do is add my earring back. Or like I said, you could add a button or any type of thing that you have. And there you go. Now, I like to make it look extra fluffy, so I just take my fingers and kind of ruffle it up. And it makes the fabric on the ends shear out, and it makes it look much more feathery. And there you go. That's all you had to do to make this beautiful. You could make this into a brooch. You could put it on a hat. You could do so many things with it. So now that I've got your brain rolling, let's move on. So my box is all dry, and I just want to decorate this edge. I have some of this ribbon that's gold. I think it matches pretty well. And I'm just going to trim around the edge with a little hot glue. Now, it's hard for me to pull this up to the camera because I work so close to the camera and get my hot glue in. So I'm going to start in the center of the box because that is where I'm going to put my flower. Now, if you don't have to put the flower. If you were going to use it in a drawer or something, the flower would actually get in the way. But since I'm using it as a display, I really like the way the flower adds a lot more detail to it. And it kind of switches my display up. Plus, I leave my display boxes out in my studio, and I just like the way they look when they're decorated. So you don't have to decorate it, but I like to show you the different options that you do have. And so all I'm doing is hot gluing this around just over that edge where the fabric kind of met up. Now you don't really see that, and you don't really need to do this, but that's never stopped me before, so what difference does it make now? It's just so nice to have things all look so pretty in your studio or on your display. And the more effort you put into it, the more people notice it and want to come over and see your items. And now all I'm going to do is just one big glob of glue on the back here. And if you're wondering what this red mat is, it's actually a silicone baking mat. Hot glue does not stick to it, so it's a great thing to just leave your gun on. You don't need one of those glue trays or anything. It just keeps everything from sticking. Because I have a glass table, if it sticks to my table, it's a real nuisance to get off. And there we go. We now have this perfect box, and I can show you how pretty your earrings fit in with the earring cards. And I'll show you with the display how nice these are. And see, you've made it custom so it fits perfectly. Somebody could rifle through these. You could keep all ones that are pink, gold, different colors. You can make them for any different types of things. So there you go.